Chapter 17 of Mr. Wicker's Window. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Sudeshna. Mr. Wicker's Window by Carley, Dawson. Chapter 17. The following morning, while Chris was telling Mr. Wicker of the ammunition being loaded on the Venture, Becky Boozer announced a visit from Captain Blizzard and Elisha Finney. "Show them in, Becky," Mr. Wicker told her. To Chris he said, "I wonder what brings them here so early. It must be a matter of some importance. Stay with me, Christopher. I shall present you to the captain." The extraordinary pair came in and Chris was introduced to Captain Blizzard and Mr. Finney. The captain was all smiles except for his eyes. Chris noted that his eyes did not smile at all. Mr. Finney, true to form, cast down his eyes, sighed, and let the corners of his wide thin lips droop almost to his chin. When a chair large enough and solid enough had been found for Captain Blizzard, and Becky had brought in a decanter of sherry in glasses to set before the visitors, Chris shut the study door and sat down on the floor, where he could observe the three faces before him. Mr. Wicker spoke first. "Well, Captain, what brings you here so betimes? No trouble of any kind, I trust?" Captain Blizzard set down his glass of sherry and cleared his throat. "Now, sir, needs must I come with unpleasant news, and sorry I am to bring it. I have heard that the Venture plans to sail at any time, and you well know she's a fast-sailing ship." He folded his plump hands over his paunch and twiddled his thumbs with agitation. "Sir, it has been noised about that the Venture is headed for the West Indies." He paused and glanced at Mr. Finney, who nodded forlornly, his mouth drooping. "But 'tis not so." The captain looked with anxious eyes at Mr. Wicker. "Early this morning Ned Seeley brought me the information that the Venture is to sail to the China Seas." Mr. Wicker's face was grave, but showed no surprise. "I knew some trouble was ahead," he said slowly, "but did not know what form it was to take." He paused. "News of sailings and destinations get about so rapidly, it is more than likely that someone overheard the destination of the Mirabelle and sold his knowledge to Captain Chew. Although," he added thoughtfully, "I think Claggett Chew guessed it." "Well," and Mr. Wicker looked alertly at the two men, "what advice do you give me?" Captain Blizzard wagged his head. "Nay, sir, 'tis for orders that I came to you. It is for you to say." "How soon can the Mirabelle put to sea?" Mr. Wicker asked, and Chris's heart skipped a beat. "At any time, sir," the captain at once replied. "We have nearly water enough and quite sufficient stores. The men are all assembled." The captain fell silent and no one spoke for several minutes. Mr. Wicker, leaning his chin on his folded hands, was lost in thought. "How move the tides?" he finally asked, raising his head. The captain, with surprising briskness for so large a man, pulled some folded charts from his pocket. Without a word, the three men rose and went over to the table, pushing aside the china bowl filled with flowers to spread the charts flat on the tabletop. Captain Blizzard leaned his knuckles on the boards. "The tide will be high at midnight, sir," he informed them. "See?" He pointed a short forefinger at a spot on one chart. "Here is the sandbar that the tide covers for but a short time. And should there be other ships crowding the river near this point, we must slip through there then or not at all." Mr. Wicker examined the charts and nodded. "Very well," he said, "so must it be." And Chris felt that his heartbeat would stifle him, it pounded so fast and thickly in his throat. All at once, looking up at the thoughtful face of his master, Chris longed to be able to stay safe at home. The imminent journey, so far and perhaps so perilous, seemed suddenly too much for him. Mr. Wicker had taken the river charts and rolled them up, and now turned to the captain and first mate. "Captain Blizzard, and you, Mr. Finney," he said, "should water casks be seen going on board, the whole of Georgetown will know you mean to sail. I therefore ask you to so contrive it that the casks be hidden in bales or boxes, so that they seem to be anything but what they are." He tapped the rolled charts thoughtfully on the palm of one hand. "Our only chance to steal a march on the Venture will be to sail at least a day before her." The two men listening nodded in agreement. "There is one other thing." Your orders for where you are to anchor once near China will be secret, and carried on the person of this boy." He laid one hand on Chris's shoulder. "He has a task of utmost secrecy to carry out, and will require your help, encouragement, and silence." Captain Blizzard and Mr. Finney looked solemnly at Chris, who looked as solemnly back. "Not only that," Mr. Wicker went on, "but his presence on the ship must not be known until the Mirabelle is well to sea." He glanced down meditatively at Chris. "I shall arrange to bring him aboard somehow and give you your sailing orders later." He strode over to the window looking out to his gardens and the trees where the apples showed their russet cheeks. "Leave me these charts for yet a little while, and I shall ponder on our plans," said Mr. Wicker. He turned. "See that the water casks are taken on at once, Captain, and hidden, and make a place for Christopher here," and at a beseeching look from Chris he added with a smile, "and Amos." No sooner were the captain and Mr. Finney gone than Chris spoke up in great excitement. "Mr. Wicker, sir, I have a plan. May we look at the river charts again?" Master and pupil spread out the charts once more, and Chris pointed eagerly. "Look, sir, here is the sandbar, and here," he put his finger down, "the Venture. Or she was yesterday. Now, sir, the sandbar being just below and ahead of the Venture, once the Mirabelle has slipped by, wouldn't it be too bad if something happened to make the Venture drift with the tide and run aground?" He looked eagerly up into Mr. Wicker's face and saw in it the reflection of his own excitement. "There are times, Christopher," said Mr. Wicker with his eyes snapping, "when you surprise even me. But how is it to be done?" "Well, sir," began Chris, "it's a little tricky, but I think what with the things we know, it can be worked." He began outlining to his master the details of his plan. End of chapter 17. Recording by Sudeshna.